G'day, how are you doing? Hopefully doing very well and keeping healthy and safe. Well, today we're gonna have a look at this Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 ProX. It's a 14-inch lightweight slim laptop. Now we're gonna have a look at the temperatures and fan notes, look at the features as well, and as always, I will be putting timestamps along this video so you can skip to a different section that you may be interested in and also to save you time. Now, Lenovo have actually produced also the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. This is the ProX version. Now, the difference between the two is the ProX has a discrete graphics and the Pro version does not have, it's just using integrated graphics. With the Slimline 7 line, it can either get the Intel or the AMD version. Now, this one here I got right here is the Intel version, so I'll just concentrate on that one there. So it is using the 12th gen Intel core and it's a H series processor, so that's the performance version of the processor, and you can either get the i5 or the i7. Now with the RAM, you can go out with a maximum capacity of 32 gigs, and that is soldered to the system board, so make sure you select the correct amount of memory as you can't upgrade it later on. With the storage, it has a one slot of M.2 for the SSD and it is the 2280 format. And with the discrete graphics, you can choose between the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 or the GeForce RTX 3050. There is a 1080p webcam located above the display. It's great to see that Lenovo put a 1080p webcam, and it also has an e-shutter. There is a button on the right hand side which you can turn on and off the webcam, and the video quality of the webcam is decent enough for video conferencing. The display is a 14.5-inch 3K display. There is about 4 different versions. They're all IPS panels and they all have a brightness rating of 400 nits. And it has an aspect ratio of 16:10. There is a touch version and there's also a non-touch version. The non-touch version, you can get 2 different versions of it. You can get a glossy finish or a matte finish. Now with the touch display, which is what I've actually tested out, is also has a glossy finish. The display has very narrow, thin bezels, and all the different type of display do have a refresh rate of 120 Hz. Measuring the color gamut coverage of the 3K non-touch matte display, which has a rating of 400 nits of luminance or brightness, it actually measured in at 453 nits or candela per square meter. It resulted with 94.5% sRGB coverage, 65.5% Adobe RGB coverage, and 67.4% DCI P3 coverage. Working with the multi-touch glossy display in direct sunlight, I did find that the glossy display had quite a lot of reflections, but I still was able to consume multimedia and I didn't have any issues working on documents in direct sunlight. And as for the backlight, I didn't find too much light leak around the edges. The Yoga Slim 7i ProX comes with a 70 watt-hour battery, and I managed to get 6 hours and 36 minutes for the Modern Office battery life test in PC Mark 10, an hour and 18 minutes for gaming, and 4 hours and 19 minutes for video playback in the Procon battery test. The battery life results is a bit low, but do remember that this does have a discrete graphics, and it's still an area that I think Lenovo could improve on for the battery life. There are 2 speakers located on either side of the keyboard. When I tested out the maximum volume of the speakers, it managed to measure in a peak of 79.5 decibels. Now, I would actually consider these on the quiet end of the scale of other speakers. And as for sound quality, we don't have that much bass, but we do have very strong mids and highs. The balance is towards more to the highs. We've got good clarity and reverb for the speakers, and as for the acoustics, because it is facing towards the user, that's not bad at all. But this is still an area that Lenovo could possibly improve by having a little bit more volume to the speakers. Now, having a look at the hinge, I'm just going to do one finger test here, and to see it is pretty easy to lift, and it's also got a very smooth, consistent all the way through the opening. Now, it's opened up to about 180 degrees, and we've got to just quickly do this quick wiggle test, and I can see that it's clamping quite nicely. I don't actually see any lifting or any gaps at all, so that's very nice. Good job on the hinge here. Now it goes all along the back as well, the hinge, so it's absolutely fantastic to see. The build quality and construction of the Yoga Slim 7 is beautiful. It's got this nice, very silky, smooth, glass-like feel texture to the front, the back, and also the sides, and especially on all the edges, it's all rounded. So you're not gonna get this catching on anything. It just has a very nice feel to hold this computer here. It also has a very nice sort of what I call a silver metallic blue to this color to it, which actually is growing on me quite nicely here. So it's not that gray, it's not that dark gray or space gray, it's got this really nice sort of metallic blue to it. So that's really good. And as for the flex, you're not going to bend this thing. It's actually quite very well built. Even if the keyboard, that doesn't have much flex at all. This is actually getting closer to that rugged that I actually did. So this is actually going to take a lot of beating for a test of time. And also just very nice. Love it. The keyboard is a very comfortable keyboard. It's very similar to the ThinkPad keyboards, which I absolutely love. And has decent amount of key travel with a very smooth surface texture to each individual keys. We've got good spacing in between, and I'll consider these a large size keys. The trackpad is a large size trackpad, and it's also mechanical. So it's hinged at the top and you can deep press it at the bottom, and it's also multi-gesture as well. We also have a silky glass smooth texture to the glass fan, which makes it very easy to glide your fingers over, and it also reacts pretty well. Looking at temperatures and fan noise, when I took my measurements, my ambient temperature was 16 degrees Celsius and the ambient room noise was 36 decibels. When I put this computer on load, I found most of the heat was located near the center of the keyboard, which is not unsurprising, that's where the processor lays underneath. But before I get started, we'll just give you a reference point. Your average hand at 16 degrees is anywhere between 32 to about 34 degrees Celsius. So hopefully it gives you an idea of how hot or how cool this laptop could be. So I took my base measurement when the computer was idle, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at a maximum of 29 degrees Celsius. And the fan noise was still at 36 decibels, so the computer's practically quiet. And the average internal core temperature was 34 degrees Celsius. Then I put 20% load on the computer. That's pretty much average use, so the tasks like office productivity work, surfing web, streaming video, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at a maximum of 38 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, it spun all the way up to 40 decibels. And the average internal core temperature was 62 degrees Celsius. Then I put 50% load on the computer, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 42 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 45 decibels. And the average internal core temperature was 80 degrees Celsius. Then I put 100% load on the computer, and the hottest area on the computer measured in at 43 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 47 decibels, and the average internal core temperature was 73 degrees Celsius. I also measured the bottom back cover of the computer when it was at 100% load, and the hottest area on the back cover was 50 degrees Celsius, and of course the fan noise stayed at 47 decibels. Let's have a look at the stability performance of the processor for long duration tasks. This particular one is configured with an i7-12700H processor. Looking at Intel website, it has a maximum turbo boost of 4.7 gigahertz. And Windows reports this processor has a base clock speed of 2.3 gigahertz. So hopefully we should be able to go above or at 2.3 gigahertz. Now I've got this computer connected to mains power and set to best performance mode in Windows power scheme. And I've got quite a lot of load on both the processor, memory, storage, and also the discrete graphics as well. And I've had this running on over 11.5 hours, this process. And I can see from the processor, speed is reporting anywhere between 1.4 to about 1.9 gigahertz. So if I just average that out, I'll say about 1.6 gigahertz, which is below the base clock speed of 2.3 gigahertz. So we do have quite a bit of thermal throttling happening at the moment, and we do have the discrete graphics probably running quite hot and causing quite a lot of heat. And this computer, the Slim 7, is quite thin as well, so this is contributing to quite a lot of the thermal throttling here to the processor. Let's have a little single core behavior of the i7-12700H processor in the Yoga Slim 7 ProX. I'm going to start a single core task in Citybench R23, start the clock watch, and we're just going to observe the speed of the processor in this single core task. So we've got about 2.8 gigahertz. Now we'll move to about 3 gigahertz. It's about 2.8, 3, it's getting up close to 4 gigahertz now. There we go, we've hit 4, 4.1. Now we're just fluctuating back down to about 3.8. It is connected to mains power and set to best performance mode at the moment in Windows Power Scheme. And we're just trying to find what it's trying to do. It's just moving between the different ranges of 2.8 actually to about 4 gigahertz. It's not really staying stable at one particular speed, and it is pretty much going at 3.8, 4 gigahertz. Now it's starting to get a little bit more stable between those two frequencies, speed. Now I've just hit about 2.8. I just saw 2.17, which is below the base clock speed, so 2.17. But it quickly got moved all the way back to about 4 gigahertz. We're just about finishing the single core task in Cinebench R23, and with the speed of the processor, it is pretty much behaving. It really ranges between 2.4 to about 4 gigahertz. It really hasn't sat very nicely on any particular speed. It really does range quite a bit for this i7-12700H processor in this Yoga Slim 7 Pro Plus. I would say that sometimes it looks to have a bit of thermal throttling as it's moving between the ranges than anything else. Here's the results of the benchmarks for the Yoga Slim 7i ProX. This particular one's configured with an i7-12700H processor with 16 gigs RAM and 512 gig SSD, and also the RTX 3050. Here's the results for Passmark, Cinebench R23, PC Mark, 3D Mark, Crystal Disk Mark, Geekbench 5, Procon Office, Fusion Photoshop, Fusion Lightroom, Fusion After Effects, Fusion DaVinci Resolve, Blender, Luxmark, Compute Bench, Burmark, Eugene Engine, and SpecView Pref. And some gaming benchmarks like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry New Dawn, Far Cry 6, Immortal Phoenix Rising, and F1 2021. Let's have a look at the internals. First off, you need to unscrew the 5 Torx screws. You do need a T5 Torx screwdriver. And to pry it open, I suggest to start from behind the hinge, and then it's pretty easy to pry it open. Most of the time it's just lifted up anyway. So I've pre-undid this, speed up time, and this is the internals. First off, we've got the 70 watt hour battery here, and the battery connector is right here, so you can disconnect the battery if you're just doing some troubleshooting or working on the computer. Above the left hand side of the battery is the M.2 for the SSD. As you can see, it's 2280 format. And on the right hand side, we've got the Wi-Fi Bluetooth module. And of course, this has integrated or soldered memory or RAM, so you can't really upgrade it later on. And then we've got the processor, and we've also got the discrete graphics underneath this heat sink, and you can see it's a dual pipe and then dual fan as well. Overall, the Yoga Slimline Pro X is a pretty decent computer. We've got a discrete graphics while still also maintaining a slim profile, and it's lightweight as well. And it allows you actually do content creation and also some gaming while you're on the run. So definitely a very nice computer. I love the actual build quality of this computer, especially the smooth, silky surfaces and also the curvature of all the corners. So definitely that's a nice, we've got a decent screen, and also keyboard and trackpad as well. And we've got a nice selection of ports as well too. Hopefully you found this video informative or enjoyed it. If you did, it will support my channel, smash that like button for me. And if you haven't done already, subscribe my channel by hitting that subscribe button on the screen. I do try to upload a new video every week. And as always, imperfections in life makes it beautiful and interesting. And I'll see you next video.